It is Good Friday, and I'm sure every Italian American, at least in this part of the country, is making a variation of this dish. Now, we are not going to get into the Pizzagate war. Some people make it like a pie, some people make it a little bit different with a top, without a top, with a lattice kind of structure. Our family makes it like a calzone or like a bread. So I'm here to demonstrate what our family does. Traditionally on Good Friday, I always go over to my mother's house and I make this. She always makes the dough and I always make the filling and I make it and we did it to the end. So last night she made the dough. The recipe I'm going to show you is going to make you 2 loaves of the Pizzagate from our family, but I'm actually going to make 8 loaves total, so it's going to be 4 recipes because one recipe of the dough is going to give you 2 loaves of bread. So you want to do it in small batches. You don't want to say, oh, I'm making 8 loaves, I'm going to put it all in there. It's just not going to come out the same. So you should do the recipe in batches, okay? It'll just come out a lot better. So for our filling, you have 8 eggs that are whisked together. Those in the pan. You have 2 cups of grated cheese. I am using a combination of Pecorino Romano and Parmigiano Reggiano. You have 1 cup of ricotta. 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs, seasoned breadcrumbs. Our family always used 4C. It always comes out the best. You have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, not soda, baking powder. You have a little bit of cracked pepper. And you have about 2.5 cups of chopped up meat. Okay, this is a combination of imported ham, prosciutto, and salami. That goes into the dish. And you just stir all that together. Okay, so the hardest part about making this dish, especially because there's a lot of prep that's involved. You have to cut up all the meat. You go to the deli, you gotta cut into like 1/2 inch thick slices and then you dice it up into smaller pieces. And it's really funny because if you make it on Good Friday, and if you know Good Friday or Friday throughout Lent, traditional Roman Catholics, we don't eat meat. And so you always have to keep a handy dandy wooden spoon on hand so that you can slap the fingers of those that are trying to dip into the meat. Okay, so now that our filling is combined, it's all mixed together, we need to cut up and roll out our dough to make the loaf. So you're gonna just flour your surface, a little bit of all-purpose flour, and you are going to spread that out. And again, my mom always makes the dough. I went over there to go pick it up and my dad goes, don't vary the recipe. The recipe is the recipe, that's how it stays. So I'm not gonna vary the recipe. So you're just gonna eyeball it. You're gonna cut this in half, okay? And put one thing to the side. Because again, this recipe makes 2 loaves. And you're just gonna form it into a little bit of a ball. And then you're gonna take your rolling pin and you're going to roll this out. You don't wanna make it too thin, okay? Because this filling obviously has a lot of cheese and meat, and when it bakes, it's going to steam a little bit, and you don't want it to break. So part of the science of this is to not fill it too much, first of all, or to make the dough too thin, because if you make the dough too thin, and when it bakes, it'll break, and all the filling will spill out in the baking process, and then you just don't have a nice bread. So you want like an oblong. It's not like a round like pizza, okay? Because again, it's gonna look like the shape of a calzone. We're gonna put it together like a calzone. Okay. We're gonna put our filling in, and then you'll see what the process is. So again, this filling is for 2 loaves, so we're gonna split the filling down the middle and just put in half. Right, okay, and you're going to spread that out. Try to make it as flat as possible. Get it all the way to the edges. My dog is like, there is meat up there and you need to give me some. Okay, so you've spread out the filling. Now we are going to just fold this over like so. And kind of press down on it so that it spreads out a little bit. And then you're going to crimp the edges kind of just like a pie. So you're going to roll it over so that it binds together and you don't have anything leaking out. Okay. And actually, I kind of did it kind of pretty, but you also want to crimp it a little bit, just like you would if you were making a pie. You want it to be pretty. And you want to make sure that it's sealed. That's really the most important thing. You want to make sure that it's sealed so that that filling does not pop out in the baking process. Okay, next step is to give it a nice egg wash. This is just one egg scrambled with a little bit of water. Okay, and the egg wash is going to give it like a nice golden, crispy, pretty outside. Okay, and make sure you get the edges as well. Nice egg wash. You need to vent it. Just like a pie, you know, it's going to burst with all of the moisture that's in there from the cheese and the eggs. So you're just going to give it a little bit of a slit so that some of the steam can evaporate. I've already treated my pan. You can use cooking spray. I actually used a little bit of Crisco on the bottom of the pan, but we're going to cook both loaves together. So gently lifting this up, you put it onto your pan, and then we're going to make the next one. Okay, so I finished making my second loaf. I'm ready to go into the oven. It's 375 for 45 minutes. In the meantime, while I'm watching that bake, I'm going to make my other loaves. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes, but my new oven has a convection mode, so I think they're done. Now, I messed up. I made it too thin, so they split. So thank goodness I have enough dough to keep practicing. It'll still taste delicious, it just doesn't look the best. So the next batch is going in. I'm gonna change it from convection back to regular bake so that I can follow the recipe properly and make sure that I don't roll them out too thin. But this is what it looks like, and then we'll cut into it and I'll show you how we serve it. Okay, I'm working on the last batch. The first batch that I did, I kind of screwed up a little bit because I rolled it out too thin. I've got batch 2 in the oven, I've got batch 3 on the ready, and now I'm just gonna do this. But what I really wanna talk about is Easter family traditions. My Nana always had Easter. We lived in a 2-family house growing up, and it was a big one for us. Things on the menu were stuffed artichokes. We had homemade raviolis. We had a ham that my Aunt Kathy always made, and lamb chops, or like a rack of lamb, whichever one was the best, and tons of vegetables. We had the pizzagana, we had an antipasto, we had cheesecake, we had a ricotta pie, we had my mother's sweet Italian bread. It's a big holiday for us, and it really sucks this year that we can't share all of those delicious foods and things that we do to prepare for it. But I don't know, what does everybody else do for Easter? That was really like a big thing. Homemade raviolis. Any Italian out there that has made homemade pasta can relate to this. You know, you make the raviolis, and then on the spare bedroom you put a sheet and you lay out all of your raviolis so they dry, so that they can dry. You stick them in the freezer. It just was so much tradition, so many memories, and so many things that are so important to this time of year. So I hope you all enjoy this recipe. Don't eat meat on Friday, and enjoy your Easter.